Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. On We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening, and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. You're watching us on We Believe Digital platform. That's We Believe Digital Media Group. Now, we're a little bit different platform than most. You can find us at WeBelieveDigital.com, or you can watch us on Facebook, or you can watch us on YouTube. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to send us stars and support the program. If you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to hit the subscribe button. We're in a subscription campaign. We need to grow our subscribers, and you can help. You can be a major part of the growth and the development of this network. Now, if you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own platform, then you have choices. You can go under inspiration and watch some of the best preaching in the world. You can go under sports and be completely up to date with what's happening in sports. But you can scroll down a little bit further and you can see a link to We Believe Radio. That's We Believe Radio. We're broadcasting live 24 hours a day on our internet radio station. You can listen to some of the best music in the mornings. I think our programming is running from about 12 to 12 in afternoons on gospel, and after that we have some soft soul music, and then we have a block of time that's delegated to talk shows. Our producer, Sherry Jones, is an outstanding young man that knows radio better than anybody else I know, and he is really bringing that radio station to live and bringing it to bear in the marketplace. We look forward to syndicating some of our talk shows, such as the Socrates and Henderson show that you're watching right now. And we had an opportunity to meet just this past weekend with Tavis Smiley, who was in Mississippi for the NAACP rally out in Rankin County, based upon the brutality that the young black men experienced over there. And the NAACP is calling for all of the deputies involved in that brutal, heinous crime in Rankin County, Mississippi, but they're also calling for the sheriff, Bailey, to resign. Some folks say that until you cut off the head, you have done nothing to the body, because it will grow a new body. So the deal is, Tavis was there to lend support to the NAACP and others, and we had an opportunity to meet with him, and lo and behold, he has agreed to allow We Believe Radio to broadcast his 3-hour program next month. Now, I mean this month. This is September 1st. So we will be carrying the Tavis Smiley show starting next week, and we look forward to that. It's that kind of collaboration that's going to unify us and make the difference in what we're trying to do. Now, also on that same stage last weekend was the Honorable Presidential Candidate Cornel West. and Mr. West was there, and he gave a fiery speech and fiery remarks about the fact that the goon squad that they call themselves in Rankin County did not only exist in Rankin County, but he said it existed in New York City, in Harlem, in Los Angeles, in Oakland, in Miami. He said the goon squad operates all over America. And so something has to be done with that. And tonight we're going to talk about the increase in hate crimes that are permeating society throughout the entire country. And we're going to talk about some reasons that you might be seeing that explosion in that regard. Now, as always, my co-host, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, is here with me. He's a gentleman that needs no introduction. He is probably the most renowned, sought-after speaker in this part of the country. You know, I like to tell people all of the time that he is Dr. Eldridge Henderson, which means he is book smart. But he was born on a plantation, and he survived that. That means he's street smart. And when you're book smart and street smart, you are a dangerous individual. Dr. Henderson, it's always good to have you on the show. And how have you been, sir?
Well, thank you, Mr. Socrates. I've been fine, and we have one series of hours left this week until midnight, and I think I will continue to do well, because when I leave here, I'm going back to work for a few hours, and that'll be the end of the day.
Wow. Tell the viewership a little bit about yourself and your program out there with your speaking engagements, etc.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you just heard, my name is Eldridge Henderson. I have a radio show called the Eld Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. That's what we talk about. And I have a series of topics that we put emphasis on. The major series are as follows. We have education and training, economic development, religion, politics, and we also specialize in leadership. Now, within those 5 areas of activity, we have over 200 different topics, and we talk about these topics, usually give a short history of them, and then give solutions as to what black people need to do in order to solve their problems in 30, 60, 90 days to the point where they'll be in control of their situation. And in those areas, Mr. Socrates, we are saying that if you're in a position, in a location, city, state, or region where you're in the majority, you should control those 5 areas of activity from birth to death all over the world. And black people control 1/4 of the world, population-wise, so they need to control those areas.
Now, Dr. Henderson, the interesting statistic here. We got to deal with the logic of what you're saying. You're saying that the procedure, that the program calls for African Americans to control those 5 activities where they are in the majority. Now, that's primarily going to be in the South.
Exactly.
And so in Mississippi, for example, we're 40% of the state's population. We're not the majority of the state, but we control city government. We control county government. We control airport authorities. We control boards of supervisors. You're saying that we should absolutely control those 5 areas in those areas where we are the majority.
Exactly. Not only control them, I'm talking about comprehensive control in every area of activity. Budget, personnel, policy making, future guidelines, corrective action plans, and collaboration with others, and of course, contracts. Those are important things that we must control, or we will lose out and will continue to be a non-entity in America.
Now, Dr. Henderson, the word collaboration sometimes is frightening for me because I don't know exactly what it means to each individual that says it. I know what the word hello means. It means hi. But when you say collaborate, I'm not sure I understand what that means.
Okay, well, we look at it. We have done a lot of work in this area. Collaboration has to do with, one, working with others to get the goods and services they don't have, even if they don't like the person or the organization that they are dealing with. You have to learn how to put together plans and policies, memorandums of understanding, and get what you need, provide good leadership, and use those resources well. And you will have what you need to manage your area of responsibility, whether it's a district or region or state. And many cities in America, some of the major cities, are controlled by black mayors, city councils, and others. And even though they might be a small sector, there might be 2 million in Chicago, 3 million in Los Angeles, where blacks are in control. You control that area, and you will impact the rest of the state if you have good leadership.
Now, let me ask you this. In the recent debacle with the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, the mayor of our city, an African-American mayor, the governor of our state, a Caucasian gentleman, were at odds. Is it possible to collaborate when there's so much friction between both sides?
Of course. White folks have been doing it all the time. Anytime they have found that black people wanted to get away from being segregated to the point where they are starving to death, being beat to death, when black men and women get backbone and start looking at their situation and say we're going to change and start impacting the white folks in a negative manner economically, they will call you and negotiate with you. They will make compacts. They will give you some of the things you are demanding. And you have to demand and take what you can, starting at the lowest level to get your foot in the door, and then move on up the economic chain and get to be owners and managers and producers and executives in various areas of activity.
So are you saying that black folk, which I watched the Republican debate, and I was quite impressed with the two African Americans that you say were on the stage. I only saw one, but you say there were two African Americans on the stage, and I want you to explain that. But I was impressed with the dark-skinned one that I didn't call African American. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes. You're talking about the so-called American Indian that is from the nation of India, and he was born here in America. His parents came here. They were very smart, working in the medical profession. I looked at some of his YouTube videos today, and he was talking about how he was trained to be responsible, to take chances, to set goals and reach them. His parents worked with him on it, and he is a black man with straight hair. And I can tell you, if you look at him with Tim Scott, who is the other presidential candidate that is alleged to be a black man, he is darker than Tim Scott. Nothing wrong with that. He's a great man. He's one of the sharper presidential candidates in the Republican Party.
So in collaboration, should black America be in collaborations with anyone in the Republican Party at the national level?
They should be in collaboration with anyone that controls the money in their district, in their state, or in their nation. You don't have to love your enemy to work with him or her. Most people are chosen by their love alike for another person. So you just have to learn to work with people, whether you like them or not, whether your culture is the same or not, because you're looking at goods and services, the things that are going to make your life more acceptable, make your life complete. That's what you have to look for.
So explain to me why African Americans, for the majority, 95% of African Americans are identified with the Democratic Party. How did we get so not isolated, but we certainly are not a diverse group when it comes to politics?
Okay, up until the 1940s, most people know there's been studying history for years. Black people were basically Republicans from the mid 1800s, right after slavery. They were Republicans. And, you know, they alleged that Abraham Lincoln was their major person, and they put the obligation on Lincoln saying that he freed the slave. He didn't free not one slave in America. He passed the proclamation and that is the piece of paper that's supposed to freed all the slaves. But I've been telling people, if you read the history books, you will find that Abraham Lincoln during that period didn't control the area where the slaves were. That was a different country. They had a different president. They had their own money. They had their own military. They had their own economic base, and he had nothing to do with it. And all he was trying to do is get the Union back together. They called it unification, and he cared nothing about what went on with the races in the South, because he had slaves at the White House at the same time, but they were not considered slaves. They were his good workers, those people that cooked for him, his valets and others. His wife had a supporter that was sort of like a nanny to her. She had, as you know, alleged mental problems. Her son died when he was young, and she was just a loose lady, not knowing exactly what to do. And this black lady that was working with her kept her under control, maintained her sanity to a point, and she was able to live and be quite productive until she got old, and then she almost died in poverty. I'm talking about Lincoln's wife.
Doc, you have so much history. You have such a knowledge of things that it always blows me away. For you to understand the condition of Abraham Lincoln's wife is beyond comprehension on how you have that knowledge. But you got it.
It's in the book. All you have to do is read it.
It's in the book.
Now, you're not going to find it in the textbook, but you have to read old newspapers. You have to read old journals. You have to read old diaries, and you have to go and look at the periodicals during that time and old letters that you can find in archive that senators and members in the House of Representatives, industrial leaders and others wrote to their and letters they wrote to the president saying these things that I'm talking about.
And so that's why we as a people don't know our history and don't know the history of others, in this case, Abraham Lincoln's wife, because we get our news and information from mainstream America.
That's right, which is the enemy of black people. The mainstream Americans have always been taught through their legal documents and through their relatives that they are the superior person, and I'm talking about the European Americans, those poor, down, mentally disabled individuals from Europe that were so poor when they got on the ship to come over here to America, many of them couldn't pay the fees. So they had to come over as indentured servants and serve whoever paid them to get here in America for 7 or 9 years as indentured servants, and many times they worked directly with the slaves on the same plantation. Now these were white men and women.
Wow.
And this caused a major problem in the history of America.
Wow. Doc, is the history of America of such nature, it was so bad until black folk can't get over it and that's why they band together in the Democratic Party. Is the history so bad that we just can't get over it, Doc?
Well, we can get over it if we're taught to get over it. If you tell the black people in America, I would say starting tomorrow, and give them a 2-month history of the Democratic Party, 50% of the black people will leave the Democrat Party. The Democrats took over along the line and time of the late 1950s and 60s. Black people started loving the Democrats when they passed these so-called integration bills, voting rights, housing, and civil rights bills, the education integration bill, and many others that gave the black people information in their subconscious mind that the Democrats going to look out for them. You know, they always gave them a little money. They provided a few jobs for black people during World War II after they begged the president to integrate the military. They begged the president to give the black people jobs in industry so we can help the war effort. And they had to tell the president, if you don't give blacks semblance of equality, we're going to march on Washington. And the president during that time didn't want that to happen. He decided, well, we're going to integrate the military. We're going to give blacks some low-down, dirty jobs in the industrial complex in these big factories. And that satisfied the black integrationists. And that was one of the most serious downfall in the history of black America.
We've been talking about history in America, and as you can tell, and as you are listening, you now know that history needs to be really taught again to black people. Doc said that if we really explain the history to the African American population, that 50% of black folks would probably abandon the Democratic Party. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I do believe that we are doing ourselves a disservice to be lumped all in one category, especially when we see that category is not working for us, when we're experiencing extreme poverty and high crime rates and a lack of education and job opportunities. Overall quality of life is low. We got to make some changes. We got to do something different. Now, when we come back after this commercial, we're going to talk about local elections. We're going to talk about our former President Trump and what he's got going on over there in Georgia. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this break.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Hey, have you heard about the Accountable Card? It's more than a card. It's a complete mobile banking service that's accountable to all of us. You'll get a no-credit check debit card good anywhere Visa is accepted to make purchases, deposits, even get or transfer cash with an FDIC-insured bank account managed from our smartphone app. There's even a pre-approved no-interest line of credit if you need emergency cash. So why go to the bank when you can have ours in your pocket? Get accountable. Just download our app today.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the deep, deep South. WeBelieveDigital.com. Hit that link and you'll go to our platform and you'll see all of the inspiring programs that are there for you. Whether it's in religion, whether it's in sports, whether it's in talk, and even We Believe Radio. Hit that link and enjoy soft soul music and gospel music and some of the best talk shows going on in the entire country. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead on and hit the stars and share some stars with us. Send us some stars. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We're in the middle of a subscription campaign and we need your support. Now we have an honest dialogue, serious dialogue about things that really matter. Dr. Henderson and I are going to get right back into it. Now, Dr. Henderson, we were talking about former President Trump and his issues that he have now in his trials and his indictments and things of that nature, but yet he seems to be rising in popularity. How can that be?
Well, it's very simple. When you have someone in America or in the world anywhere that are loved by the people, you will find that they have a tendency to appreciate those people when they say things that they think. And Trump is one of the smartest politicians around. He used to be a Democrat for years, but later, in his latter part of his life, he decided to be a Republican because he saw some void areas where he could get in and use his influence, and he decided to run for president. Never had an elected position in his life, and he won because he was talking about the things that people wanted to address themselves, but they were afraid to do it. And that put him in a position of power and made him the strongest Caucasian in the world.
Now, Doc, that's a powerful statement because we still have the Pope, and we still have the President of the United States of America, and we have Putin, who is in charge of all of Russia. And so to say that he is the strongest man in the world, Caucasian in the world, is a reach. But let me ask you this. There's a little black woman over there in Georgia that is bringing these indictments against Trump. How is she going to hold up? How is she going to survive on all of that pressure they must be putting on her?
Well, she is going to survive very well. Black women are some of the strongest women in the world. I'm telling you. Look at all those millions in Africa, in the Caribbean, in America that have raised families by themselves since slavery up until today. They have worked, raised, I like to use the old country word, house full of children by themselves without fathers supporting them. The mothers, the grandmothers raised millions of black kids since slavery by themselves with just a little input from their fathers of their children and just enough input from the government on the state and national level to keep them alive, just kept them from starving to death. Otherwise, the black woman has been able to position herself, make herself able to survive economically by working with the opponents, which is the European Americans, getting very, very little money for their labor, but she did it to feed her children. Many times working 2 or 3 jobs, leaving them alone. If you were 6 years old and had 4 or 5 sisters, that 6-year-old would take care of the others, cooking and washing. And
now, Doc, and I know black women have a history of being strong. I get that. But I don't think that a single black woman is experiencing the pressure that the DA in Georgia is experiencing today. I listened to Governor Kemp, I believe is his name, over in Texas, and he was under tremendous pressure to pull the DA back, to censor her and take her out of the position that she currently holds. There is a war going on with President Trump and all of his minions and the many people that are being indicted, and yet you say that the man's popularity is increasing every day.
Every day.
How can that be?
Well, because he is loved by his people. He is loved by the conservative portion of America, which is along and among the white Americans is about 47% of white Americans. All that are alleged to be white, 47% love Donald Trump. They think he is a god. I told you before, and you used that word, he is stronger than the Pope. More people know about Donald Trump than the Pope. Who knows anything about the Pope unless you're a Catholic? They just heard that word. They don't even know what he's supposed to do. But they know what Donald Trump's supposed to do, and he's on radio every day.
And what is he supposed to do? Incite a riot like we had in January 6th, and now that I understand that there have been more people sentenced to go to jail, some of them getting 17 years and 16 years for their participation in the January 6th riot on the White House. Is that what he's supposed to do?
Of course, that's what he's supposed to do. And that's what is accepted by his followers. He is just like Putin. He says, I'm going to rule while I can, in the way I can, and most of the people are going to follow me, and those that don't are going to be on their own. And that's exactly what happened. He's going to abandon all of those folks. He can't give them a pardon, so he's going to put them on the sideline, get some more to replace them, and keep on running until he can get in a position where he has to tell the Democrat that I don't want to go to prison. I'm not going to run for president in 2024, and I'm going to step down, and that is if he is found guilty of something, because he's not going to spend not one night in jail. Joe Biden, that if he is found guilty of anything, biting his toenail or fingernail, and it's a felony, he will be pardoned before 5 hours pass by Joe Biden or whoever's in president.
Why would a Democrat pardon Trump?
Because most major politicians are just like Trump. They are wheelers and dealers. They have people that they have hurt throughout their careers. They have people that they have helped. And they all have booger bears in the closet. Trump knows it. And when they get somebody like Trump in a position where they can eliminate him, they're going to pardon him. So when they get in trouble, someone will look at them and give them a pardon.
All right, so if that model works for white folk, if it works for Caucasian, that one man can have 47% lock on the white population in America, where's the model in the black community? Do we have a black individual that has a 40% base, 47% base in black folks in America?
Not yet. Not in America. Not in Africa.
Why not?
Well, because we have been taught to be divisive. Black people have been taught ever since slavery, and I don't want to repeat this again, to hate themselves and to love their enemies. They taught it to them in the church. They taught it to them when they were in positions of responsibility. The law taught it to them, say, you Negroes not even worth anything. You have nothing that white people are supposed to respect, and you are totally a non-entity. And white folks said, no, we don't like them. We're going to tell them legally. We're going to put constitutional mandates together to show them that they are not citizens, they're not human beings. And we always fought back. The black folks always fought back and said, boss, please accept me. I want to be American. And the best example I can give you is when you know you're lynched, you're segregated in the society, you are abused, you are shot, you're poisoned, you're given drugs that will kill you, and they not even do anything about it. And all of that, you beg to fight and die for a non-loved America.
What was wrong with us to make us act that way? Why would we want to be accepted by someone who is, in fact, got their foot on your neck?
Well, because of training.
Training.
Training, when you're trained well.
We've been trained to accept that.
To love your enemy.
To turn the other cheek.
You've been trained to go to heaven when you die if you do certain things. And one of the things that'll get you in heaven when you die and give you a relief and give you an opportunity to feel good about yourself is where you deny yourself and put your enemy first.
Wow. Wow. And is that what we're being taught on Sunday mornings?
Well, used to, but now we're not taught very much on Sunday mornings.
Wow.
You have Facebook and YouTube churches now. Black folks don't go to church like they used to.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, and I'm not going to say it's a good thing.
Okay, all right. Then we'll move on. Now, recently here in the state of Mississippi, we've had the largest scandal in the history of the state called the welfare scandal, where some $98 million were taken from poor people and dispersed to the friends of our governors and allegedly our lieutenant governor and folks like that. Brett Favre, one of the recipients of those TANF dollars, has said that he has been mistreated and that he has been slandered and that he should not be held accountable because he didn't know it was poor people's money that he was receiving. But recently, as of today, it came out in Mississippi Today that the lieutenant governor's brother, Todd Reeves, has specifically asked the state auditor to not go after Brett Favre, to say that he was a good man and that he should not be held accountable for what he had been doing. How can we have that level of corruption in Mississippi in the middle of the Bible Belt where folk are taking money from the poorest people in the world?
Well, they have always done that in the South, in the North, South, East, and West.
Wow.
They have always taken the goods and services of black folks. And the reason this former professional football player was so amazed that people were pressing charges against him and alleging that he didn't know that was so-called poor people's money is because he was surprised. He knows from his associations that this has been going on even before he was born. When white people in political situations got money, illegal or otherwise, they were not prosecuted. People would know about it, but they were not prosecuted because they control the judges, the district attorneys, and everyone else on the local level and the state level. See, the most important legal specialist in America is the local district attorney. Anything happens in his area, all he has to do is prove without a shadow of a doubt, after his investigations and research, and find out who is guilty, and he then gives this information to a jury, grand jury, and they say, yeah, you have enough evidence to prosecute these people. But when you control the district attorney through various means, they usually can't find enough evidence to give to a jury to say that you have done enough to have a trial.
So are you saying that our judicial system, from the federal level, you said that the president would pardon Trump if he got convicted of anything within 5 minutes, which means that we have a corrupt system. Now you're saying that at the state level in the state of Mississippi, where the lieutenant governor and the governor are accused of misappropriating funds, you're saying that they control the DA, so therefore he's not going to bring a charge. Are you saying that the judicial system in America is either corrupt or bought and paid for, and that no one outside of that special group will get fair treatment?
That's basically what I'm saying. It's because of association, sir. Those district attorneys, up until recently, the judges, the lawyers, the members in the House and the Senate, were basically from the same economic group. They were basically what we call European Americans. They attended the same church, played golf, those middle class and upper, on the same golf course. They belonged to the same sororities and fraternities in college. And they went to the same church as deacons and Sunday school teachers, and they were Bible toters, so-called fake Christians, and they did everything they can to work together, because when they were in law school, they decided, I'm going to get in the legislature. Another would say, I'm going to become a judge, and we're going to help each other out as we move in the next 20 or 30 years. And I'm going to cover your back, and you're going to cover mine. That's what you're supposed to do if you can get away with it.
Well, that's not the way the judicial system is supposed to work.
Who said it's not the way? That's the way it always works.
That's not the way Americans think that the system works.
Well, Americans don't even know nothing about the system. And I'm giving you the real facts. And this propaganda they were taught in those so-called little education books in middle school and high school was so summarized until they didn't know anything about the responsibilities and the duties of the three branches of government.
Well, so when we say that you need to teach civics in school, what does that mean?
That means you want to teach people how to know about the operation of government and know the difference and the checks and balances that are put in the Constitution to be used when you have abuse of power. And if I were in charge, getting all the money I could get, my friends knowing I'm a crook and don't press charges against me, I wouldn't want it taught either. I would want to control that and keep the people ignorant and make them cowards and have them working so hard trying to survive, they just say, well, I'm just going to let the Lord handle it, and I'm going to do what I can to feed my family. And basically, that's the way it is in America, and especially in the South.
Well, explain to me this. We in Hinds County, where this incident occurred, the capital of Mississippi is right here in Jackson, and Jackson is 85% black, 85% African American, with an African American district attorney. Was that young black man, the DA in Hinds County, supposed to indict the governor of the state of Mississippi for crime?
The district attorney in any county, black or white, supposed to indict anyone where he can find enough evidence to show a grand jury that this person is likely guilty and he has harmed the people in his area. Now you have to find significant evidence, and you have to find a grand jury. You call the grand jury, give them the information. But now, if you don't want to find it, you have to continue to research it. You continue to investigate when you don't want to present this information. You say, I don't have enough, I got to find a little more. And when you know anything, 5, 10, or 15 years pass, and you have gotten your pension, the others have gotten old and sick, and they are not want to be bothered anymore. And the politicians work like that. They're not going to bother a candidate, an old candidate that has not done his job. When he gets by 75 to 80 or 90, if he's not dead, they won't press any charges against. So look at this Emmett Till case.
Now, when we come back after this break, we're going to talk about Emmett Till's case a little bit, but we're also going to talk about local politics. We recently had an election here in Hinds County for the Board of Supervisors and some legislators in our state House of Representatives. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we're also going to talk about a popular radio host that went to trial for murder charge this week that ended in a hung jury. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Hey, have you heard about the Accountable Card? It's more than a card. It's a complete mobile banking service that's accountable to all of us. You'll get a no credit check debit card good anywhere Visa is accepted to make purchases, deposits, even get or transfer cash with an FDIC insured bank account managed from our smartphone app. There's even a pre-approved no interest line of credit if you need emergency cash. So why go to the bank when you can have ours in your pocket? Get accountable. Just download our app today.
The Mississippi Link is an African American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Socrates Garrett, ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett, ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South, in a state with a notorious history. You know, we only have 3 million people in the state of Mississippi, and 40% of those people are African American, according to the census. Dr. Henderson would say that there are probably more African Americans than that in Mississippi, just like there are more Hispanics than that in Mississippi than what we know about. And so Mississippi is a very diverse state. It got a diverse population. We have more elected officials in the House of Representatives and in the Senate than any other state in the nation. We have some 23 African Americans in the House of Representatives and 10 to 12 senators in the Senate in Mississippi, and yet we can't get anything done. And yet we have the state, the governor of the state, instituting new bills that were recently passed to deploy his own Gestapo police force inside the city limits of Jackson, where it's 85% black. And blacks were outraged, some were outraged, but then we learned that some blacks inside of our legislative ranks were actually in support of that measure. So we got a lot of work to do to understand, you know, why we're so divided as a people, and if, in fact, black folk are ready for democracy, or is it true that we need to have a king or a dictator that tells us what to do in order to progress the masses? You see, if you can't have effective leadership, you can't come up with policies and procedures and programs that you can implement that would move you off of the bottom. But if you're divided in your house, as this says in the good book, a divided house is certain to fall. We're divided in the African American communities in ways that I've never ever seen before, and it's causing chaos. It's causing us to turn on one another at a rate like we've never seen before, and it's causing high crime rates, and it's causing all of the ills in our community, broken families. Too many grandmothers and great-grandmothers are raising children because the family structure has been broke. And now we change our age-old philosophies of family in the black community, and our music changes. Now we have songs out like No Romance Without Finance, and I can do bad all by myself. I don't need no man. All that foolishness is designed to keep us divided and keep us separated and keep us fighting with one another, while others take all of the gold and silver and precious metal out of our community through payday lending shops, through pawn shops, through all of those vehicles that they have in place to render us ignorant and poor. And Charles Evans once said that the white folk get rich and the poor folk get more children. And so we have a bad situation in Mississippi, but it can be solved. Now, my co-host, Dr. Henderson, once said to me that back during the days of slavery, that there were more African Americans in Mississippi than there were whites. More black folk in Mississippi than there were whites. And then he went on to say that the slavery could have ended in 30 days if black folks had unified and marched against the minority, that we would have ended slave in 30 days. But we didn't. And so now we got this long history of abuse that is continuing right through today. We talked about the brutality that went on in Rankin County, where the sheriffs over there brutally shot and harassed and demeaned black folk for no reason at all. We see it happening every day. But the biggest problem we got is that we're doing it to ourselves. And so recently, we had a situation that came up in the city of Jackson over a garbage contract where an African-American firm was the low bidder by the city of Jackson, and the city council voted to deny the black firm an opportunity to pick up trash. I thought that was despicable. But later on, the Hinds County came out with another RFP for someone to pick up trash in the county. And that 5-member African-American board voted against a black man that was the low bidder by $5 a household, over $1 million a year, and awarded the contract back to Waste Management, who'd had the contract since the beginning of time, in a city that's majority African American. So we're divided and we turn on one another. Not only are we killing each other in the streets, but we're murdering each other in the boardrooms. And we're murdering and slaughtering each other under the economic condition. And just recently, just the other day, the city of Jackson decided that it would vacate the building that African Americans own out at the Metro Center. Now, 3 African Americans own that property, of which I have full disclosure, I am one. And we had a 20-year lease with the city of Jackson to provide space. A black majority city council and the black administration voted to cancel that lease, rendering 3 prominent African Americans on the brink of bankruptcy, because there's no way you can sustain a lease of that magnitude, some $45,000 per month, that you can sustain that if your tenant leaves. And it just destroys the black community when we do that. That could never happen in any other community. It could never, ever happen in any other ethnic group. But in our community, it happens every day. So, Dr. Henderson, we're so divided. And in our local elections that we recently had, one Supervisor Archie, lost the election. And then he turns on African Americans in a way that we have not seen. First, he said that Tony Johnson, a previous election commissioner, had rigged and the race was corrupted. Then, secondly, he turns on the chairman of the Democratic Party, Miss Amos, Jackie Amos, in a way that we've not seen before. So we're killing each other in the streets. We're killing each other in the boardroom. And I don't see any hope for us as long as we're this divided. How can we turn this around?
Well, believe it or not, how is a future word. Now is a current timed word. They're already turning things around in Hinds County, especially on the supervisory level. Look at the situation. You're going to have 3 new supervisors in early January out of 5. Now, what they are going to do if you read that literature, they're going to be agents of change. But the current supervisors are already working, according to my information, to pull those new ones in, and I guarantee you they're going to be making all kinds of deals, and they will eventually form another 3-2 coalition where they are going to do exactly what the strongest supervisor in the group want done. And I'm not going to tell you who the strongest one is, because there's one on the sideline that might be in that group in January that will come in as an independent. Now, that is another serious matter, so this is not over yet. It's not over.
Well, tell me again if you think that that new group of supervisors can do what's right and what's best for the African American community.
Of course they can, if they want to, but they usually are not going to be in a position to want to because of stresses and the idea that you're supposed to get along to not be abused. And you're going to find the strongest people in the supervisory election, usually the incumbents, going to wield more power than the people just got in office, because they don't know what to do. I did, you were there yesterday, I had a list of 18 things that the county supervisors and all elected officials supposed to know 60 days before they get in office. 60 things they need to know. The state constitution, the national constitution, the contracts that's been let by their opponents, the guidelines and policies that related to their job and responsibilities, the certification that they need, how to communicate with the public, how to look at the idea that we're going to be transparent in what we do, which means let the citizens know how much money we have. I want you to tell me how you want us to spend it, and I'm going to show you what we're doing with your money. It's a little simple. I'm just making it simple. But this is not the way it's done. So when you have dominant people controlling new people and they don't know what they're supposed to do, they're going to sit there and not organize themselves and learn what they need to learn. They're going to sit there for 6 months or a year being silent, trying to figure out what to do, instead of forming coalitions with the new ones that just got in office and say, we are not going to get hooked up in no 3-2 coalition. Say, we are going to be the majority and make the other two come along with us. But it'll take a strong person within the 3 newly elected people to say that, and if they do that and organize in a strong manner with specific goals and objectives and transparency, you will find they can pull it. And the whole situation will change. And all they have to do then is pull out their, what we call flashcards, and say, I told the voters when I get in office I'm going to do the following. I have all those cards in my file, and things will start changing in Hinds County in 30, 60, or 90 days. And if they don't do that, you're going to have the same corrupt activities, bad leadership happening in Hinds County.
Well, I want you to go over again the plan, because our folk need a plan. They need to understand that there is a way forward, there is a methodology that will change our conditions. And you say that there are 5 things they must control where they are in the majority. So explain to our viewers again what this plan is.
Well, as you know, if you want to be in charge of anything, from birth to death, you must control certain things. One is your education and training, your economic development, your religion, your leadership, and politics in the communities where you're in the majority. If you control those 5 areas from birth to death with your own leaders, with your own coalition building processes, you will have the governor, the members in the House and the Senate, and even some of the national members in the legislature coming to you wanting to talk to you, because they will see that you are strong, that you are focused, that you have goals and objectives with a timeline. You have an agenda that you are going to follow come hell or high water, and you're not going to be swayed to do other than that. That's what the newly elected Hinds County supervisors can do. Instead of waiting around and say, well, I don't know exactly what to do. We have two in this area with seniority. They know everything. They've been doing this for years. We're going to follow them.
Well, I hope they don't do that.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I hope they are smart enough, the three new ones, get together and persuade the two that's incumbents to work with them. Say, we're going to do something that's totally new. Say, in January, by the January the 15th, say, we're going to have a new president, and the new president is going to be one of the three that just recently got elected. Because they will have the power to do it if they are smart enough to do it.
And they understand that they should, because you've already given them the plan.
Exactly.
And so the reason I say I hope that they don't do that is because all 5 of those Negroes voted against an African-American business. Their hands went up so fast I thought it was on some kind of a hydraulic pump. Now, one of them thought that an African-American business should have picked up the garbage in Hinds County. So I hope that the 3 new ones will understand that the only reason that you run for office is the only thing, the power that you have, is the power of the budget. When they're out here talking about that they're paving streets and they're running bridges and they're cleaning parks, not one supervisor has paved not one street, has not cleaned not one park, and that's not what they're supposed to do. What they're supposed to do is to make absolutely certain that the budget reflects the will
of the people.
Of the people.
That's right.
In this case, the will of the constituency that sent you there. That means that 80% of all contracts for goods and services, because you're 85% of the population, 80% of those contracts for goods and services ought to go back in the community that sent you in there. That ought to be the goal. Now, from a legal standpoint and from a qualification standpoint or capability standpoint, maybe you can't get 80%, but that ought to be your stated goal.
Exactly.
And they don't see that, and they won't say that. That won't come out of their mouths because they're afraid that they will be disliked by their former masters.
But let me tell you the other side, Mr. Secretary. Advisors in Hinds County, we don't just pick on them and use them as the guiding force. They're in a position right now where they can set the tone for America and the world from Hinds County if they will pool their resources, the 3 new ones, and say, we are going to make one of us the president of the city council, of the county supervisors, and we're going to rule or fall into according to our qualifications, our duties and responsibilities that's legislated for us, and we're going to start doing it tomorrow. Not waiting around trying to learn. And those other 2 will fight them day and night, trying to get in with them to sabotage their plan. But if they have a locked group, those 3 new ones, they can easily get the other 2 in, and then they could vote as a 5-member if they don't relent and feel that they can't do it.
They're watching, they're hearing, they're listening, they understand what we're saying, and we're going to continue to say this to you throughout your tenure. We're not going to just send you down there and turn you loose anymore. That's a bad mistake. We made that too many times before. The elders and the adults in this community must stay engaged at all times. Now, that we're close to the end of the program, and that was a murder trial from a local, very popular artist, radio host, William Edwards, a.k.a. Polo, that everybody followed here in Hinds County, in Jackson, and the state of Mississippi. I believe the verdict was rendered last week, or this week.
Yes.
What's your understanding that happened there?
Well, the verdict is inconclusive. They couldn't find the man guilty without a shadow of a doubt. He had a great defense attorney. See, you have to show doubt in order to get a jury to not vote for your person, to vote against him. They voted in his favor because his attorney said it appears that there were 2 different bullets in the man's body. Therefore, this weapon that allegedly that my man had an assistant with it. Assistant bullet. I call it another bullet, another caliber. Therefore, it must have been 2 shooters in that house at the time. But allegedly, and I heard this myself, there was a lady on the stand that said, I was there. I saw it happen. And this man did search. He left and went to another town, I think Lexington, Mississippi, and then on the coast somewhere, and they found him. And I saw what happened. But where did the second bullet come from that's not similar to the one where they pumped in about 8 or 9 in the man? Where are the weapons? So there is a doubt there. And that's what good defense attorneys are supposed to do. Protect your man. You're not guilty until the jury says so, no matter what people think.
So what is the fate now of Mr. Edwards?
Well, Mr. Edwards, first of all, his fate is that he ought to take at least 36 hours and go somewhere and get the revised King James Version of the Bible and read that and say, thank you, Lord. And then continue to work on what he's working on. He wants to get involved in the community again through his Facebook and YouTube series and so forth. And he is a man that is focused on making change. He's focusing on exposing people that are doing things that's not right in Hinds County, in Mississippi, and in the nation.
So the word redemption comes to mind. He needs to work on being redeemed.
Well, sometimes when you have been accused of things, you want people to think good of you. And the way you do that, you try to implicate someone else that's doing things worse than what you are doing. Oh. And people will start loving you.
Yeah, I guess to the old age theory that in the land of the blind, a one-eyed man is king.
Of course. And look at Hitler, for instance. He killed millions of people for years. Almost everybody in government in the United States and all over the world knew what he was doing. But he had a lot of supporters all over the world, rich people, supporting him. Those people that had contracts with him to provide food, clothing, shelter, ammunition, airplanes, tanks. They came from the major European countries. He made them, but he got the supplies from the European nations.
Well, Doc, I get you, and we wish Mr. Edwards and his lawyer down there the opportunity to have another day in court since it was a hung jury, and we'll be following that trial and keep you updated as to what's going on there with that particular case. Now, we run out of time. You know, we've done everything that we can to provide some information that you could use and some strategies and some programs that we can implement in the African American community that could make a difference. And we gotta unite. We gotta come back to the positions where when my brother hurts, then I'm hurting. That I will not harm anyone unnecessarily in my community. We will eliminate crime in our community, not by Gestapo police departments, but we will eliminate it based upon the fact that we are inextricably tied together as a race. And we're going to get back to that day in the near future. But we're out of time. Doc, your closing remarks.
Well, I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity here to talk about problems and solutions. And I want the people to know, if you want to hear the real news, the versions that I can't give on radio and television, and we believe, you need to call us. We have a speaking team, and Mr. Socrates is one of them. We will come to your church, your school, your family reunion, and your community organization and give you research-based information with solutions as how you can start solving your economic problems, your political problems, your religious problems, your problem of lack of leadership, and you can see change in 30, 60, 90 days. And all you have to do, folks, is call us at 601-201-1957. We are ready to go anywhere in America. anywhere in the world, just call us and give us a date.
Well, our time has expired. We're in Jackson, Mississippi. If you're out there and you're retired, you're African American, you need to come home. We need to bring our brain trust back. We got problems beyond what we can handle by ourselves. It's evident that we're losing ground. I forecast and predict that we will have white folk as mayors and as supervisors in our city very shortly, because black folk are losing faith in black folk. So if you're out there, you need to come home. We need the talent, we need to bring trust. You've gone away, you know where you came from. It's time to give back to the community. Let's make a difference. Now, until next week, we want you to stay safe and good night.